Right, so I am here on behalf of the Mainland Foundation, and I'm hoping that what I'll do tonight is provide you with some information about what it is that we do in Class 4 gambling. If you ever hear Class 4 gambling, it's just a flash term for pokies. All right, so I thought I'd put that up there and actually then tell you what it is that I'm talking about. So has anybody here done, I've seen lots of faces are familiar here, so I know the answer to this, but how many people have done grant applications before in this room? Right, okay. I have gone a little bit simple here, if you like, because I didn't want to assume that everybody knew about gambling. So please, for those people who do know about this, I apologise if the beginning of it is a little bit elementary. But I just want to give you a little bit of background on gaming so you know how it works and how we get the money and then how we distribute it. So a Class 4 society or a trust, we lease the space in bars, okay? The bars don't own the machines, we own the machines, we service the machines, and that's how we get the gaming rooms. And the venue then collects the money from the gaming machines and puts it into our account, and then I go to Bermuda. No. And then we in turn pay our venues what's essentially a fee or a commission for leasing the space in their bar or hotel, and that hopefully reimburses them for their expenses that they incur, their staff having to deal with gamblers, and of course for servicing the gaming room. So please, at any stage, if anybody has any questions, let me know. So how is the money generated and how is it split up? So some people are probably pretty interested to know that the odds of winning for every dollar that goes into a gaming machine, approximately 92% or 92 cents, is returned to the player. Okay, so 92 cents in every dollar goes back to the player. And then that 8 cents is all that we're collecting really to give away to the community. And that's how we split it up. So for anybody who can't see the numbers down the back, 42%. And a lot of what I'm talking about here is just mainland centric. Okay, I'm not necessarily speaking on behalf of other gaming trusts. But 42% of what mainland generates goes back to the community. The regulation says that we have to distribute a minimum of 40%. 25% goes to the government in gaming duty and problem gambling levy. 16% is what roughly we pay to the venues to have the machines in there. 8% for my exorbitant salary and mainland expenses. 9% in depreciation on our machines. So hopefully that adds up to 100%. And as you can see, 42% for the community is the biggest amount, and then the next amount under that is 25% for the government. So who makes the decision on a grant application? Well, every gaming trust has what's called a net proceeds committee. We have one that's made up of 3 people, and they meet every fortnight, roughly. Not so much over Christmas, but pretty much the rest of the year. Most, if not all, have websites that list cut-off and meeting dates. So hopefully, I think when I walked in, Doug said to me, "Are you going to give any gold nuggets?" And I thought, a lot of this stuff is common sense, but we see it so often, I feel like I have to reiterate it here today. Websites have cut-off dates, have cut-off and meeting dates, okay? The worst thing that can happen is we see an application we want to support, but it's retrospective, okay? We can't give you money for something that's already happened, okay? And try and plan in advance as well. This is another thing where we know somebody has known about an event for 6 months, but they apply to us 10 days before, don't get it in on time, and then ring me and say, "Hey Nick, can you work your magic and stick it in, put it into the meeting, with nobody knowing," sort of thing. So just plan ahead as well, because it's not my money, it's not the trustees' money at the Mainland Foundation, it's the money for the community, and we want to give it away. So we just need to make sure that it meets all its obligations and that the application is correct. So how can I give myself the best chance of success? So the first thing is get to know what each gaming trust likes to support. Do they do salaries or not? I know it's a big one, not just for rugby clubs, but for all organisations, is finding gaming trusts that will do salaries. Some gaming trusts are sport-focused and other prefer child or youth-based initiatives. And certainly at Mainland, we're one of those. We like to see, things that are getting kids up off their bums and out playing rugby and that sort of thing. Does the gaming trust you're applying to have venues in your area? So most gaming trusts generally like to put the money back into the area from where it's come from. So, for example, if we get an application from Wellington, we won't support it. We don't have any gaming venues in Wellington. But it also applies on a local level as well. We're not going to give money to Ashburton because we don't have any venues there, but we're probably not going to give money to the Leaston Rugby Club because we don't have any venues in Leaston. But there are gaming venues out there, and they should have money available for that community. So get to know which trust is operating the gaming room at your local pub or the local hotel nearby where your club is situated. Get to know what trust is in there because they probably have money available for that area. And the Department of Internal Affairs have got a really good website. If you put in a keyword gaming on that website, or gambling, it'll show you, you can actually get a list of which gaming trusts operate which pubs in Canterbury, in North Canterbury, in Selwyn. Continued, how to give yourself the best chance. Obviously get the application in on time. Some trusts only allow one application a year, so again, check the website to see which do and which don't. Is the application complete? 60%, and I'm not joking, 6 in 10 applications require follow-up due to insufficient or incorrect information. And some gaming trusts will just send it back to you and say, look, I'm sorry, we can't process this. And there's another 2 weeks that's wasted that you haven't been able to get your application in. We actually ring up and we get things sorted out and try and get the application in as soon as possible. But again, I'd hate to see an application go to retrospective that you really needed. Is the rugby club doing anything to help itself? And I guess what we want to know, and again I'm speaking on behalf of Mainland here, is are you doing fundraising? Have you got a handle on sponsorship? Are you collecting subs? Are you trying to keep your overheads down? And that last one, certainly in my time in 6.5 years, and probably in the last 20 years, is that volunteers are getting harder and harder to find, aren't they? So you're having to pay people to do jobs in the club. And they were jobs that people were doing for free 20 years ago. And all of a sudden, that becomes a cost as well. And I don't blame people sometimes. I think about my own family. If I was spending 3 or 4 nights or days a week down at the rugby club for nothing, I know that my lovely wife would say, well, are you getting paid for it? You know, because time is tough at home and we've got volunteers who rightly or wrongly expect to get paid now. But that's just another level of funding that we're getting requests for now, whereas before it might have been, can we have 6 new sets of jerseys? The last ones have been used for 6 years, but now we're getting, oh, can we have 6 months of the general manager? Or can we have 6 months of the RDO? And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's how the landscape has changed, certainly from our perspective. So, does the cover letter give a good outline of what you're applying for and why? Is it essential or is it a nice to have? And if so, can you prioritise? The best application we ever saw, and it wasn't from a rugby club, was from the SPCA. They came in to talk to us about their education program, and they brought in a dog and a cat and a guinea pig and a rabbit, and it was interactive, and they thought a little bit outside the square, and some of the best applications we see have just someone's put a little bit of time and effort into them and actually taken some time to explain what it is they're trying to do. Maybe you've got $1 million sitting on your balance sheet because you got an insurance payout, but that hasn't been explained to us because there was no cover letter with it. So one of the things we look at, of course, is that we look at the financials and go, that club is sitting on $1 million and they want $4,500 out of us for jerseys. But if in the cover letter it said, yes, we're sitting on $1 million, but we're waiting to do this and that with it, and we've just got it in the bank because we're living off the interest a wee bit and all the rest of it, then it gives us a much clearer picture than just a black and white application that doesn't have any information attached to it. So, is your accountability up to date from previous successful grants? Accountability is, did you spend the money in the way you said you were going to? And is what you're applying for an authorised purpose? E.g., no food or beverages. We can't approve anything that's food or beverages, or anything that could be considered a gift. Or if you're doing a refurb to the kitchen at a club room, and we can't help out with like fridges that are going to be used in a bar or anything involved with alcohol, that sort of thing. But most websites for most trusts will have the information about what you can and can't apply for. Are you applying for a big sum of money? I think I probably speak on behalf of most trusts who say they're unlikely to award, for example, $30,000 on a cold application without some background, knowledge or discussion. And from a Mainland perspective, because we're only a small gaming trust, anything over $15,000 is considered a large grant to us. And I'll tell you a wee bit more about Mainland a little bit later, but have you applied to other trusts to try and spread the cost of a large grant? Can you meet with the trust to discuss a large grant or perhaps a one-off capital project? In Mainland's case, and I could be shooting myself in the foot and I might get 48 calls in the morning, but if someone wants a large grant, on our website it says anything over $15,000, ring and discuss with us to meet with the Net Proceeds Committee so that we can hear what you've got to say and try and get some more information about this large grant. Because if it comes across our desk and we haven't got any background information on it, we're probably more than likely to say no, because we just don't have that sort of money. But maybe we can budget for it going into our new financial year, okay? So how many gaming trusts operate in Christchurch and Canterbury? Anyone?
12.
How many?
12.
Almost, that's good. 13. There's 13 gaming trusts in Canterbury operating 77 venues, and that's within the City Council boundary. There's 5 trusts with 11 venues in the Waimak District Council and 4 trusts with 12 venues in Selwyn. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's trusts out there that have got money that they should have for the local community from venues which most rugby clubs should have a venue nearby or more than one venue. And more than likely, if it's more than one venue, it'll be more than one gaming trust. In fact, 2 trusts in Christchurch have 17 venues each and another has 13. None of those are us. So who is the Mainland Foundation? So obviously we're a non-profit organisation, and as I've said, we distribute the funds back to the community from our gaming venues. We're one of 4 Christchurch-based gaming trusts that call Canterbury home. We've got 2.5, almost 2 3/4 full-time staff that are responsible for $13 million in income and approximately $4.5 million in distributions back to the New Zealand community. And the gaming industry is regulated by the Department of Internal Affairs, and the legislation is the Gambling Act of 2003. Our 13 venues, we've got 3 in Palmy, 1 in Nelson, 8 in Canterbury and 1 in Central Otago, and one of those ones in Canterbury is in Hamner. So Mainland Foundation's total contribution to amateur rugby in Canterbury since 2005 is in excess of $4 million. And you know, it is something that we're very proud of. Most gaming trusts have what's called an authorised purpose, and the authorised purpose sort of governs where and how they can give away their funds. In our case, one of our authorised purposes is to support amateur rugby in New Zealand.